If you're looking to get into property development or just starting out in property development, one of the questions I often get asked is, should I register for VAT? Now, when I'm referring to property development, I'm talking about ground up, in other words, new build houses as opposed to conversions and renovations. The way VAT is treated for those two different scenarios is very, very different. With new build, it is zero rated, so you can claim virtually all your labor costs. In fact, they won't charge you labor because they can zero rate it themselves, but also all your material costs, you're going to pay VAT on it, but you're able to reclaim it. And that can be a very significant amount of money. And if you're registered for VAT, then you can get quarterly reclaims, and that obviously helps with your cash flow. So if somebody is a self-builder watching this, it's very different rules for them, but since this is a property development site and that's what we deal with, I'm only going to deal with property development issues here. Should you and at what point should you do that? As I said before, you should actually have it in place definitely before you start the build, but I actually believe that you should have it in place right from the beginning. Now, naturally, I am not a financial advisor, I'm not a lawyer, so you need to take your own independent legal advice and accounting advice on this and consult with the experts, because your situation may be different from my situation. So this, I'm just really telling you what I would do. So before you start the build, yes, definitely, because you are going to be incurring expenditures which you're then able to reclaim. Incidentally, if you watched my previous video to this on limited companies, I'm suggesting, again, against taking legal advice on it, that you form a limited company and then you register that limited company for VAT and any other subsequent limited companies, unless one of those companies for rental properties, then that's a completely different subject there. So nevertheless, yes, you should register right at the beginning. You'll have solicitors fees, you'll have planning consultants fees, you'll have architects fees, you'll have surveyors fees. They will all generally charge VAT. You're able to then reclaim that. You will also be traveling around, visiting, and you'll have mileage, so your car will probably not be inside the limited company because there's lots of benefit in kind that you have to be aware of there. So a better scenario generally is actually claiming the mileage back, which you claim back for the first 25,000 miles a year at 45 pence a mile. That 45 pence has a VAT element in it, and you're able to then reclaim that. So there's lots of areas where you can reclaim that VAT. You can reclaim if you're operating out of a home office. You can reclaim the VAT element of electricity and gas that heats that particular area. Again, there's lots of rules around this, so because you can end up with a capital gains liability. So again, a discussion for your accountant. But in general, you're going to have a benefit plus by registering for VAT in terms of your expenses. Another reason to register would be the credibility that you have by being a limited company with a VAT registration. People think that you got credibility. Now, a lot of people are on the assumption that you have to have the threshold, which is somewhere about 80 to 90,000, depending on what time that you watch this video, and that you need to pass that threshold before you register. No, it's only when you pass that threshold that you mandatory have to register. You can voluntarily register at any time. So starting out your business, you can voluntarily register. However, there is a caution there. So if you tell them that you are in property development, in other words, new build, ground up property development, and they will then come back to you and ask you to name the plot of land that you are developing. So register as a different type of entity, because you can change that at any time, and there's not going to be any implications if you've not done any significant trading through there. Essentially, you don't want to be able to say that you got land at this time, because you don't have land, because that will probably exclude you from being registered. So you're just saying that you're in the property development business, which you are, but they will assume that you are looking at other projects. So again, there's just a lot of nuances around there, and I definitely would seek advice before you actually do that, because an accountant will advise you of the current rules around that, and these things tend to change all the time. So my advice is to get professional advice. Yes, it will cost you some money, but it will save you an awful lot of money. So think of it as an investment in your future.